Hey, it's great to be with all of you. Thank you so much for joining with us today. We're here with Cast Light Productions, Born Again Films, and we're so excited today to have my daughter, and of course I'm John Dees. I have my daughter Kelli Dees, and I'm so excited to have her with us today as she's home from Kuwait. And we're delighted to have her and to be able to speak to her just a little bit. And of course, Kelli is my precious daughter, and she's a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And so, Kelli, we just wanted to ask you today, what is it that you enjoy about teaching? What is it that you enjoy about teaching?
Well, some of the wonderful things that I enjoy about working with a variety of different students. One thing I particularly love doing is making sure that the instruction that I give them is consistent with the key things that they need to work on. And I think another key thing that I love to do is when you have a student that is not being able to learn and get a particular concept, when like the little light bulb goes off in their head and they finally get the concept that you've been working on teaching with them for a long time. Also, I enjoy like the community.
But hold on now. That's got to be fantastic.
Yes, sir.
When you see a child who just can't get it, but then they get it.
Right.
And of course, like it never happened for me in algebra, never did. But it's always wonderful when you finally see it make some sense. That's got to be rewarding.
Absolutely, it really is. And I think it's so exciting when you see them be able to share that also with their parents and get excited about some of the different things that they're doing and sharing.
And they get more excited about school and everything.
Absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
And another great thing is when they're able to learn that concept and another student that might be struggling, they're able to teach that other student how to do it. And that's some of the things that I try to do a lot with working with a lot of varieties of students is having students work with other students, because sometimes the way you might explain something as an educator may not be completely the way that they're going to learn it. But a lot of times if they're working with a colleague or a student alongside of them, they're going to be able to get it in a different way that, they will pull things together, which is great.
One thing I like to say, and I've said over the years, and of course I'm a pastor, so I deal with young people a lot, but I've always said there's nobody that makes a greater impact on young people than teachers and coaches. That's just the truth.
Thank you.
And it's so important. So go ahead with what you like about teaching. That was one part of it.
Right. Another thing I really feel like is you work on developing so much community in the students, and I always love to see at the beginning of the school year some of the things that they don't know coming in, but how much they grow and develop throughout the entire school year. And you kind of become, within each of these classrooms, kind of like a little family in a lot of ways, because you've learned some of the different, maybe a little idiosyncrasies of different students, but they learn to rise above that, and they learn to partner with their peers and all of that. And so you definitely see like that at events like sports day and field day with the students, because one of my students that I dealt with this last year, he had kind of a challenge with his knee, and it wasn't very fast, but then I've got some boys that are extremely fast, but they're just cheering him on and all of this. And when he came across the finish line, they just, acted like he had won World Cup or something like that. And you could just see the esteem in him. Just, he had a smile on his face the rest of the day, which was great.
Well, that's got to be huge for you, because you get that. You understand that, because whenever I'm around a young man or a young lady that's a great athlete,
right,
and of course things just come easy to them, because they're
gifted.
But oh my goodness, what a blessing it is when they can use that platform that they have to encourage somebody else who's not so athletic and that kind of stuff, but cheer them on, and you just see the whole countenance of that child change. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. And I feel like when you have those things in life, because I even think of myself personally, that I had teachers when I was in 4th grade that, just the key things that they impacted in my life. And I've been able to be at this school for about 6 years now, and I still have like ninth graders and 10th graders that would come up and say, I really love the time when we did this, and I was really struggling with this, and so they still remember that. So having those moments in the life of a child are just so important, and it allows you to have those impacts on them and minister to them in particular ways of believing in themselves and one of the things I talk about a lot is that they have wonderful abilities and talents that God has given them, and that they're gifted even differently than one of their other peers. And they need to always be proud of themselves for the key things that they have in their lives.
No. Well, speaking of that, what are some key influencers and people that have influenced you greatly in your life? Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, I mentioned once particular, I had a teacher, her name was Mrs. Nance. Unfortunately, she's no longer living, but just her commitment and dedication to our classroom, I just felt like highly inspired to become an educator. Mm-hmm. And I had other professors, especially in college. I had a wonderful opportunity to study abroad for a couple of different months, and just the way that she took us to different places and allowed us just to learn about other cultures in many ways. I felt like that was sort of my inspiration, along with another professor that I had that strived me to want to go and work overseas and working with international students in a variety of ways. These ladies just inspired me to connect with people, and that's some of the things I've enjoyed so much.
Well, yes. That's huge. That's really. And then you had when you were out at Southwestern Seminary, you had I forgot one teacher. I guess I forgot. He seemed to really.
Dr. Ross, maybe?
Yeah, I believe
okay,
that's
yes.
right. He seemed to really make an impact as far as you thinking of the world's a bigger place than just the United States.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that he always opened up his class with is he would talk about, and I just thought that was inspirational, and I've strived to do it in my own career, is he would go down the line to each of the students in his class and tell something great that he thought about each of the students.
Yeah.
And, you could tell you had some students that were a little tougher around the edges, and they'd just be like, they at first they kind of thought it was a tad bit silly, but then you could see the countenance of these, especially some of these guys, change. Like, this is really cool. And I even did several years later, after I was in his class, I said, I still remember the way you did things in that class. And I said, I'm just going to share with you that I'm actually doing the same thing with a lot of the students that I have in the opening that we have in our class each day, that I talk about key things that, hey, you're amazing at this, and you're amazing at this. And, you just see that the students will just beam up like that, because people need that. And especially I feel like in this world we see, we have so much like people that are depressed and they're on different things, like, always feeling poor about themselves. That's just so important. We continue to build up that esteem in individuals.
Well, one thing about you, I think that's great, and you have learned how to speak greatness into somebody else's life.
I strive to. Which
is what you do with children, and it's wonderful. So now you're in Kuwait. How are things going in Kuwait?
Well, I really love what I get to do. I'm very blessed to work at an international school. And the key thing that I enjoy about that is not only do I get to work with international students that are from all over the world, about 56 different countries.
56 different countries.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I also work with a staff that are from lots of different countries as well. And I just think it's fantastic, because a lot of the things that I might feel as an educator of how I would do things, you get different perspectives from other individuals that are from New Zealand or Australia or Lebanon or Kuwait. And it's just amazing to see how we learn to work together as a community with different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions, and we become this cohesive, collective force that are working to impact the lives of all these students that we work with. So I enjoy that.
That's great. That's great. So how did you decide to go overseas? How did that happen? Because I think at the time you were teaching in Nashville, and then you just. But how did you decide that? How do you feel?
Well, I mentioned a couple of professors that were key parts in my life, but another thing that I really enjoyed is when I was working in Nashville, I got an opportunity to work with a variety of different students from different areas. And actually, I worked with a lot of students in the Middle East, and I really enjoyed so many aspects of their culture. I thought it was so interesting and intriguing, and then the opportunity arose from another key friend of mine that was pursuing this, that I thought that this would be a great opportunity to go and be a part of that. So that's how I got into that.
When you first got there, was it kind of a bit of a culture shock? Of course, you were living in Nashville. You've grown up in Huntsville, where like at this time of the year, everything's green, 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 because it's, you know, a lot of water, a lot of high humidity. We're over there, everything's gray, 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 gray.
Well, beige, yes.
Beige, yeah, that's right, beige.
Right.
It's just different, isn't it?
Right. It definitely is, and I think probably that first week, you know, you kind of sit there and think, wow, this is definitely a bit different. But I had visited a couple of countries in the Middle East, and I had a couple of really good friends that had told me a lot of things about it, so I didn't feel like I was completely unprepared going in. But what very quickly I learned to appreciate so many people that I was working with. I was introduced to a really fantastic church that I'm a part of there. And
there's a lot of people from a lot of places at your
yes,
church.
I think that's the thing that I enjoy so much, is that you'll be in an English service and you have people from, you know, so many countries: India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Korea, China, all of these countries, South America, South Africa, and you're all collectively working together and, you know, worshiping and connecting with the lives of different people. And I enjoy that so much. And there's so many things about the country that, you know, that I've come to love and come to enjoy so much of the people. And you realize, I'll tell a quick story. This was probably my third week being there, and I was trying to find a couch, and I was going to a couple of shops and asking around. I had a good friend with me, but this really wonderful individual, he was actually from Iran, he said, you know, I know a couple of good places I can take you to. This gentleman didn't even know me. He stepped out of his shop. He put another gentleman in charge to deal with the customers, and he spent probably 40 minutes of his time taking me around all these shops, talking to different people that he knew, and I was able to find a great couch that I needed. And it impacted me. I thought, wow, there really are amazing people around the world that choose to do good things for other people, and that just really connected me. Sometimes I feel like you get negative connotations on people. Oh, well, this person's this way or whatever. But this gentleman just went out of his way, and then at the very end of that, I tried to give him some money to thank him. He's like, no, I don't want your money. He's like, I'm here to help. I saw that you were a person that had a need, and I'm here to help you out with that. And it was my pleasure to do so. And so that just really touched me. I thought, this is a really fantastic place, that you've got people that are willing to give and serve as well, just like you'd find in this country as well.
That's why you can't make generalizations about
Absolutely.
any place.
You can't.
Say, well, that's
You
what
cannot.
that's what they're like. Well, you don't know that until you get there and you be around them a little
Absolutely.
bit. That's tremendous. That's tremendous. So what are ways you can continue to think that you can impact people in your life? Because God has given you a wonderful life, and I've always appreciated your heart for people, your heart for Him. And those are wonderful things to see and to hear. Your brother has the same kind of heart for people and for our King. And you have those wonderful. So in your life, what are continuous ways that you feel like you can continue to impact people?
Well, key things that I feel like, number one, is I strive to be a solid example for different people. I try to connect with people, get to know them on a personal level, and connect with the key things that they're doing. Second thing that I strive to do is make sure that I'm living a life like above reproach. And what I mean by that is I'm the things that I say that I believe in, the things that I value, I strive to make sure that my actions follow that, and they're behind those aspects. The third thing that I really love to do is set great examples of different ways to, like we've talked about, connecting with students, connecting with other people. And I think the fourth thing is I do have a gift of like hospitality. I always love bringing people over to my home or the area where I'm, and just involving people in the lives of other people and getting to know people and connecting and making great connections with people. I enjoy doing all of those aspects, and through all of that, just continue to be an example for the Lord in that. Yes.
So do you feel like God has given you super opportunities in life so far, and do you anticipate that He'll continue to give you super opportunities in life?
Absolutely. I feel like my place where I am now, I do definitely give some great opportunities to be able to connect, to be able to work with different people, like I said, from many parts of the world, which is amazing. And I'm constantly searching for new ways that I can connect, and He can use me in different ways.
Now, one thing, okay, so Kuwait, and we just all remember back in the Gulf War, and which was what, 20-something years ago? And,
About 25, yes,
and
sir.
the shock and awe and all those kind of things like that. Overall, would you say that the Kuwaiti people respect America and appreciate America, or what would you say is the overall attitude?
Well, during the time of liberation, which is celebrated in February, actually, they definitely do. I have met many people as I've been there that were part of the martyrs that lost their lives before, basically Canada, UK, and the States came in. And so to hear the daughters and grandchildren of these individuals that were martyred, and they have like a martyr's wall. You can see so many different replicas that honor this, to see those things, which is great. But they definitely have a great appreciation for our country. Actually, even after H.W. Bush passed away in 2018, on the Kuwait towers, they had pictures of him and things scrolling on their towers, and a lot of replicas up around the city honoring him, because many, especially people when you talk from that generation of people, they always speak very, very highly of America and the great things that America did and how they save their aspects and these kind of things. And I feel like there's a positive areas of this, especially even you see it with the foods and some of the Western culture that they try to bring in. They do try to keep a lot of their traditional culture,
right,
within their areas of Islam and this thing, but there definitely is an openness to that, which is nice to see in areas.
So when you're out in the public, do you have to wear like the traditional dress? I mean, don't they ask the women to cover themselves? And is it when you're out in public? Is that right?
Yeah, not for myself. Actually, you have ladies that may be very devout, that they will have like their black abayas on and all of those things. But you definitely also have ladies that are devout Muslims. They're very solid in their faith, and they choose not to necessarily wear that. Okay. They will always wear like hijab above on their head, but they don't necessarily always wear the clothing. But for myself, I strive to make sure that I am dressed very modestly. Like I usually always wear like longer sleeves and nothing ever low, just out of respect for the different individuals and fathers that might be walking around with their daughters, because they like that as a good example. And then in our school, we're asked to dress respectfully as well on that. So I don't have to wear that for sure around the community, but I just strive to make sure I'm dressed modestly and respectful of the areas of the culture. A lot of times in the culture, it's more of a patriotic place. So a lot of times, like if you're in line, a lot of times the men will kind of push ahead, and sometimes I'll just let them move on through, because that is a lot of the culture of that. But I've had several times where I've been walking into a door and I try to move out of the way and let the gentleman walk by, but then he'll open the door and say, "Ma'am, walk in." And I'm like, "Oh, okay," so I've seen that too, and I think that's some of the modern influences that continue to keep growing in the country. Yeah.
Well, isn't it amazing how God works in our lives? I mean, here you are, a little girl growing up in Huntsville, Alabama, and going to elementary school, grammar school, high school. You graduated at Grissom, and all those things. And to think, you never sat there in English class and thought, well, one day I'm going to be teaching in Kuwait. Isn't that something how things can go that way?
That's true. But I feel like as part of a lot of my upbringing, I was always impacted with people that within our church and different things that were from a lot of different countries. Mm-hmm. So even as a child, I had a lot of that, desire to see and experience areas of the cultures in different areas, and I enjoyed that. So I think that was a slow birthing of it that grew over time to decide to go and be overseas and be a part of it.
Now, you were in the marching band at Grissom High School.
Yes, I was.
And of course, the marching band, of course, and I was able to play football and all those kind of things like that. That we're going into 2-a-day practices in August. Of course, I guess everybody starts school now, and
very early.
Yeah, exactly. So those were some hot times having to learn how to march in the band back in those days, also, mm-hmm. wasn't it?
Right. I really did. I enjoyed that part of my life very much. It grew my musical abilities, and also just, again, the community of people that you were able to work with. I remember as being a freshman, as you always are in high school, you're nervous about kind of your first couple of days, but because we had been in 2 weeks of practice before we started going into high school for the marching band, I had seniors that were coming up, and if you had somebody that's kind of being a little rude to you or whatever, and a senior guy walking up and be like, hey, leave her alone, man, she's with me. Yeah. Those types of things that were really good friends for you, and you always knew that you had that community that to be a part of. And we went to a lot of wonderful games, and our band was very blessed with being able to compete, so we had lots of competitions that I loved being a part of.
And you were a flag girl too.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was on the flag court.
That was neat. That was neat to see.
Squad.
Well, anyway, I won't. Listen, thank you so much for being with us today.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much for having me.
It's been great to watch God work in your life, and you never know where He's going to take you and how He's going to take you and how you're going to get there and all the rest. But thank you for being faithful, and thanks for making such an impact in so many people's lives. And you have impacted thousands of people throughout your life, and we're so proud of you for that. And all of us are called to make an impact in life. We're all called to touch other lives and to make a difference out there. The Lord didn't just put us here on this earth just to live for just ourselves. And so it's wonderful when we can take the gifts that God's given you, just like He has for you, Kelly, and touch other lives out there. What a difference it makes, and what a blessing it is. So my encouragement to each of you, and me too today, is to appreciate what Kelly has talked to us about, and with the life that God gives us, and all of us, every single day is a gift of God. Every single day is a gift of God. And last night I took a nice shower at my house. So thankful to have a good shower. So thankful to have that. So had a good bit of little fruit this morning at breakfast. So thankful that it's right there on my plate, and so blessed. And somebody out there may be really distressed and hurt and angry at somebody today, and yet it doesn't do us any good. The Lord tells us to forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors, and that is a great, great word, and that's right out of the mouth of Jesus Christ. And so we need to remember those things. And because always remember, like we like to remember at Cross Point Church, all you ever really need to do is just do the next right thing. Let's keep on doing that. God bless y'all. Until the next time, thanks a lot.